everybody, and welcome to another edition of Noble Knows. I'm Brad McMullen, along with Noble McIntyre. And Noble, the world was watching the case, Johnny Depp, Amber Heard, for weeks. We finally got a verdict this week.
Right.
A big win for Johnny Depp, but it wasn't necessarily about winning the money.
Well, from his perspective, you're right. I mean, the guy's got money. He wanted to get his reputation back so that he would be bankable for Hollywood again. And I don't think the dollar amount really mattered. $50 million was thrown out just because it's a shocking number to try to get people to go, wow, he's suing for $50 million. In reality, if he'd have gotten a verdict for $100,000, the fact that he won is what he wanted. I'm not sure he'll ever actually collect any of that money. He might. But I don't think that was his original agenda. He wanted to win his case, and because the public perception of him was so bad, he wanted to turn that around. At the end of the day, a lot of dirt came out on both of them. I think a lot of people are shocked. And really more surprising to me than anything was the fact that this judge allowed this case to be broadcast live like he did. That's pretty unusual. I mean, you know, we obviously had the Simpson case years ago where there was cameras in the courtroom. That's not a normal occurrence. Even here in Oklahoma, trying to get an Oklahoma judge to let the camera be in the courtroom, I mean, you have a better chance at winning the lottery. And so, I mean, I recently was in a case in which I just wanted the judge, the courtroom was set up so that you could allow spectators to watch. I only wanted the judge to let spectators watch the closing. Once the judge discovered that there was more than a handful of people, I mean, the judge literally had a meltdown and cut everybody off. And so it's not easy to get cameras in the courtroom.
All right, so we know how the jury ruled in favor of Johnny Depp. It was a big win for him.
Right.
But legally, did he really win?
I was actually surprised. I mean, Johnny Depp won in the court of public perception.
Which is what he wanted.
Which is what he wanted. He obviously had people on his side. He did a good job, and his team did a good job of vilifying Amber Heard to the point where people would cheer for Johnny and boo Amber, whether they knew all the facts or not. I was actually surprised that he got a verdict in his favor because he had to prove some things that I don't think he could necessarily prove. But this is just another example of jurors sometimes will take the facts and mold them to fit whatever they want to do. They'll justify it however they want. And in this case, I think the public wanted Johnny to win, and he won. And so it worked out in his favor. Again, as far as the economics of it go, I don't think that was really his goal or his agenda. I don't think he'll ever actually collect any. If he does, it won't be much. But Hollywood's calling again.
Yeah, Hollywood's calling again. But interesting case, and I tell you,
Very.
You could sit for days and watch this testimony. It was that eye-opening.
Well, the other thing that was eye-opening to me and watching the lawyers, they weren't that good. I don't think the lawyers for either side could have come to Oklahoma and win a personal injury trial case in front of a jury.
No.
I thought some of it was pretty basic, and I wasn't that impressed. And maybe some of that's because I've been doing this almost 30 years myself, and I walk into the courtroom and think, you know, I'm the greatest thing in the world, because you have to feel that way, and you have to be confident when you're presenting a case. But I watched both of the lawyers for both sides, and I really didn't think there was any strong, powerful lawyer in that room.
No, and we did learn some interesting things about what was left in the bed. That was kind of.
I mean, some of the stuff was just insane.
I was wanting to know, was it a Texas Longhorn symbol? Because there wasn't a lot of description on exactly what was left in the bed. I'm just thinking.
I mean, that's some. If you saw that in your bed, you'd think Texas. But I mean, it's like I don't know. I mean, some of the stuff that came out was just shocking to me.
It's crazy, but a nice win for Johnny Depp. But I say this: if you want a good lawyer to actually perform in the courtroom, you gotta hire this guy. Another big topic out there, right? Top Gun. We're actually going to go see Top Gun.
We're going to go see. I rented the entire theater, and we're taking all of my staff and some friends and some lawyers I work with, and you're coming along. And 3:05 today. It's currently 12:10. We're going to be there in 3 hours watching. You know, do you have the need? Do you have the need for speed?
That's right. It's going to be awesome. But unfortunately, some people on the roadways,
right,
they don't need the need for speed because they're speeding and not following the laws and getting in accidents and crashes.
Speed certainly contributes to the severity of the injury. I mean, and obviously it also contributes to whether a crash can happen or not. If you're going 30 versus 60 in a 30-mile-an-hour zone, yes, it's more likely to happen. But the speed itself, the impact of the injuries and the severity of injuries is so much more magnified the faster that you go. And a lot of times we'll see these cases where if they had just been going the speed limit or a little less, maybe it wouldn't have been a fatality. But if you smack somebody that hard, now all of a sudden it's a fatality. And so, you know, you're out there on the roads now. The turnpike between Oklahoma City now and Tulsa is an 80-mile-an-hour highway, and people are running 95 or 100. And so, yeah, speed is getting up there, and it's contributing to the fact we are seeing more and more severe injury cases as a result.
Yeah, the joke out there, you know, 50's the new 30. not when it comes to speeding. So let me make that clear. Drive safe and follow the letter of the law. HBO did a thing about the limits that these truck drivers are pushing themselves to when they don't want to be,
right.
But the companies are pushing them to make sure they deliver that stuff.
Well, over-the-road truck drivers are supposed to be limited in how many hours they can be on the road, and there's specific guidelines for how many hours they can drive in a day and how many hours of rest they have to have. But you're right, these companies a lot of times want to push as hard as they can because they're trying to get their product to the market. And that leads to some fly-by-night, I don't necessarily want to use that word, but companies that aren't like some of the bigger ones where they'll have 2 sets of logs and they're trying to cheat the system. And it's all to push this driver to get down the road, faster and as many loads as they can make. And unfortunately, when you do that, fatigue sets in. And fatigue, if you've ever driven down the road and you've caught yourself nodding off a little bit, it only takes a minute to close your eyes for a second and you can cause a horrible crash. And when a semi does it, they're such big vehicles that the fatalities and the injury severity is off the charts. And so unfortunately, these truckers are being pushed hard, and it's causing some fatigue, which is leading to more crashes.
Yeah, and if you think you're only going maybe 5 or 6 feet when you doze off,
right,
it could be hundreds of feet. Very, very dangerous. Again, you're putting not just your life in jeopardy, but others. But if you or someone you know is involved in a crash and experience that, whether it's an 18-wheel or another vehicle, be smart. Download the Noble McIntyre Law app, call McIntyre Law, the number's right there on your screen, and get someone who will fight for you and your family to make sure you get every single dollar that you deserve. Let's go watch Top Gun.
Let's do it.